Oh, hi there! Gee, I was just playing some video games right now, but now that you're here, it makes me stop and think. What would the world be like if there was no Robert Frost? Huh?
Well, while I have you here, might as well talk about one of my favorite poems by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. Although, in order to fully understand it, I think it's important to know who Robert Frost is and, well, what modernism is. You see, modernism was kind of like the sequel to Romanticism, except it didn't do anything Romanticism did, except be detailed. Okay, so it's more like a spin-off film, or just the movie that came afterwards. That's what it is. Whatever the case is, it happened after Romanticism and was built kind of off the complete opposite ideas of Romanticism. Growing up in the late 19th century and coming along just before World War I kind of hit, it grew out of the ideas that the Industrial Revolution brought up, with the whole idea of being more scientific and being more focused on what's actually in front of you in the real world. Compared to the contrast of Romanticism, where everything was so dramatic, and where everything was about the heart and the feelings. Oh. Modernism tried its best to describe what was in front of it without using a lot of words, perfectly encapsulating what was before you, what you could see by reading this poem, but without having to say, 500 paragraphs of words to do it. Take, for instance, this poem about a red wagon. It's like I can see it right in front of me. I can hear the rain dropping off of it. I can almost reach out and touch it. But you can't touch the red wagon, David. The red wagon isn't real. You can't touch the red wagon. It's not real. You can't feel the flowing rain on it. Oh yeah, okay. Now, this doesn't mean every poem will be short, just more so that it described what it was trying to describe in short bursts. Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken, yes, that poem I've talked about, don't worry, we'll get to it, is one of the best examples of this, because it's quite long in a way, compared to some poems in the modernist era, but it perfectly encapsulates that feeling of walking through a wood, while at the same time having extreme symbolism in it that just really ties it all together and makes you really think about what's going on. Robert Frost was one of the rare occasions where the modernist author in question tried their best to incorporate symbolism to explain what they were thinking, in contrast to Romanticism, where everyone was thinking about feelings and not what they were thinking. Granted, some of his poems definitely worked with what he was feeling, but in a less dramatic way. Whew. Okay, with all that explanation of modernism out of the way, let's explain who Robert Frost is a little bit.
So, who better to explain who Robert Frost is than Robert Frost? And I actually have him on the line now, so let's get our caller in. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, I'm from Oklahoma, was born late down in the States. But listen, I was into some hard drugs. I was into some very bad things. Gangs decided to constantly beat me up. I actually wasn't really related to any of their gang violence, but they decided to do it anyways. And honestly, it was tormenting to me. I absolutely hated it, man. But you can get over this stuff. I did. I got over all of it. Like, I dropped my weapons. I dropped my fist down. I gave up all the hard drugs, whatever hard drugs.
Yeah, sorry guys. I wasn't aware that Robert Frost was dead. For a while now, actually. Close to 60 years. Yeah. Looks like I should do some more research before hiring some guy off of Craigslist. But, let's talk about the real Robert Frost and what he was like. Okay, so it actually turns out that Robert Frost was in fact not from Ohio, unlike what that guy said. I really should have not done that. But he was born in San Francisco, and his family moved to Lawrence, Massachusetts in 1884. Why did they do it? Because that's where their family was from. They were New Englanders. Cool. But Robert Frost found himself to be pretty popular with his poetry inside these New England local areas. So he decided, to graduate from a poetry class in 1992. What a cool guy he was. Robert Frost actually started his career with a little poem called My Butterfly, which was sold to the New York Independent for $15. I mean, nowadays that sounds like, 2 cans of soda. But, whatever. But then he went on to publish his first book at around the age of 40. Now, like I said, man died. He was around the age of... Oh, I'm not going to worry about that. Although, I wouldn't say late into his career, but quite a few years into his career, he found that Americans were not caring about his poems that much. So he took his family off to England, where he found out England people like poems. So he continued writing in England and had a grand old time. He published a book called The Boy's Will in 1930 and North of Boston in 1914. Robert Frost went on to have a wonderfully successful career in the poetry business and was later accepted into America as a true poet. He had a wonderful inauguration when he turned 75 and, he died and was memorialized. Digging up that body is going to be a lot harder. I was going to try and find out more about him. Try carbon dating, maybe. Oh well. That's all well and good, but what about The Road Not Taken? How is it a modernist work, and what does it all mean? Now that we have all of that out of the way, we can go into the analysis of The Road Not Taken. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveller long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. In the first line, a clear picture is painted. 2 roads splitting off in a forest that's presumably in early fall, given the color. And the man clearly states that he could not take both, and be one traveller he stood. This first line sets up the idea that there is a large choice, a big step in front of the speaker of the poem. He looks down one as far as he can to see what the outcome could be, until he can't possibly understand it anymore. Now the next stanza. The other I took just as far, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for the passing there, had worn them really about the same. In this stanza you can see that he clearly looked down the other path just as far as he could and saw that, it looks a bit better, being a bit more worn out and obviously being traveled more. And both that morning equal lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. This stanza of the poem is clearly stating that in this decision this person has made, they have decided to go forward with one decision that they chose, yet they know that there's no way to turn back after they've done so. And I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 woods diverge in a yellow wood, and I have taken the one less traveled by. That has made all the difference. This last stanza is got to be one of the most important, as it hits home the entire poem, explaining that this man, the speaker, I guess it doesn't have to be a man, could be a woman, but this person has taken a choice, they've stuck to it for years on end, stating that in the end, a choice was presented, and they took the one less done, and that has made all the difference. When 2 roads diverge in a yellow wood, and someone takes the one less traveled by, this usually means that they took the harder choice. They did the choice that was harder for them to achieve, that was harder for them to just go forth with. When the speaker states that it has made all the difference, they are stating that this choice, the harder choice to make, has somehow either rewarded them or taught them something so that they know what to do when another choice presents itself. So why is this a modernist poem? The answer is very simple. It follows modernism. You see, the poem itself, throughout each stanza, describes something to you, the reader, in a way where you can perfectly see what's in front of you, but without having to use a lot of overdramatic descriptors. For instance, 2 roads diverge in a yellow wood. Granted that you know what all these words mean, you can easily see 2 paths splitting in front of you, while there's trees in early fall. Even the symbolism is kind of like a modernist work, if you will. You see, the poem, works its best to make sure that the reader knows exactly the thought process that's going into the speaker's head. The speaker has a choice, and you're able to clearly see that there's a choice and that he is trying his best to decide how to make the choice, and then makes the choice. In the end, choosing to take the path that not many would travel because it's a lot more worn, or a lot thinner, or a lot harder to traverse. This is all described in 4 stanzas. With that's like 5 minutes of reading. It took you 5 minutes of reading to understand the thought process of a man. Just imagine that.
In conclusion, Robert Frost was a modernist. A man who tried his best to make sure that his artwork stayed relatively detailed, but not overly detailed and overly exaggerated like the poems and artworks of the past, focusing more on what was in front of him than really what he felt, where his feelings and thoughts were put as a secondary, but were also kept in the same style in keeping everything in a easily understood and a visually appealing way. Well, now that that's all over and my thought process has gone through, I think I'm going to get back to some video games. Hello?
Oh, but listen, man, listen. I was into some hard drugs. I was into some very bad things.
Hey there, everyone. Thank you for watching this video. If you managed to stomach your way through it, even though most of it was a green screen, because, well, the video editing software I'm working on is from Android, and Android sucks, apparently. So, it just decided not to work, so I had to basically make this whole thing a podcast after a little bit. Not great, but yeah, thanks for sticking through it. As you can see in the background, there's the credits in the form of an MLA citation page, because, well, this is a school project. You gotta have your citation page. In the description, you can find the same thing. Oh yeah, and a Word document you can download that has the same thing in it. I don't know why I did that. I just did. But yeah, if you guys want to see some more weird stuff, head on down to my new channel. It's been new for like 2 seconds. Called Odd Davidster. It's a secondary channel, primarily for gaming, but it'll have more other stuff on it, like some skits and some fun stuff. Although currently, right now, nothing's going to be on it for the next couple weeks, as I'm trying to do driving stuff, trying to learn how to drive. That's a scary day. But I do have some things in the work. Okay, I have a review for Dead Trigger 2 in the works, along with a review for RoboCop 2014. So expect those to come out within the next few years from now, along with some more gameplay videos, because we're actually going to be doing a Let's Play-ish thing of Star Wars Jedi Knight Academy. So yeah, I think that'll be everything. I'm gonna continue making weird stuff. If you don't like it, cool, man. You're allowed to have your own opinion. I like weird stuff because weird stuff's fun. But I'll see you all in the next weird school project I have on this channel, and in the next video I have on my other channel. Peace!